everybody. Welcome. This is it's like a post-NAM. We're trying to get this in for a release because we're here with Alessandro Cortini, who's there in Portugal. How are you, Alessandro?
I'm great. I'm very happy to be joining you for this.
It's lovely to have you. And the reason that we've got you is because you've been working on a project with Make Noise, and you've kind of got a new thing on the go. So tell us about it.
Yeah, it almost feels incredible to finally being able to talk about it and to look at it and to accept it as real now, because it's been an idea and a concept for so long, and I'm not saying in a frustrating way. In fact, it's been in a way very easy to materialize. It just took a long time to understand what we wanted to do. The idea was to come up with an instrument that sonically and aesthetically reflected me, but not me in a very specific way, but the things that make me happy. So shorten the distance between using an instrument and coming up with something that made me satisfied or happy. And I've used plenty of instruments, and in each one of them I found strengths and weaknesses that I found myself attracted to. Strega was in a way condensing those results more than the way that those instruments reached the result, and in a box that allowed me to just sit in front of it and be happy, essentially,
So if I had to ask you what it was, how would you describe it?
But this is it. So you have a voice part here, and then you have a delay part here. The interesting and new thing about this, as opposed to the other Make Noise components in the no-coast format, is the fact that you see there are these touch plates. Square ones are destinations and round ones are sources. So with your fingers, you can induce or introduce modulation as you play, So in the same way, it's designed to have a little bit more of interaction that you would have by patching in CV. It's a more immediate thing. So like if you come up with something that is a patch already and you find it interesting, you can still inject a little bit of randomness by using your fingers, essentially. I can play you some of what I have as far as sequence here, so you can get an idea of what. Okay, so here we got. This is just a simple sequence, and here's the wave shape. And right now it's voltage controlled. So now it's dry, you're just hearing the voice sequence. And if I bring in the effect, clean.
Yeah.
To me, it's like the equivalent of leaving something underwater for 30 years and then fishing it out again,
So is that an analog delay line? I mean, because it sounds like there's a lot of almost clocking noise and anti-aliasing.
Yes, there's a lot
and
of
all kinds of stuff going on there.
Well, if we're happy with this sequence, then I'll just concentrate on the Strega on its own, so we can sort of listen to it as a standalone.
Okay. Great.
Okay, so let me undo all this live. I'm patching live.
So that sounds like folding, but there's also, dare I say, some PWM in there as well, right?
This is the activation knob, so this way you basically, it's off. And here is where you introduce the uncertainty, if you want, to the VCA.
Okay.
To the pitch. You got the beginning of Songs of Faith and Devotion right there.
Well, particularly when you got the effects going on as well, that's going to really ping into...
So let's find a quiet or a simple voice so we can get into the effect. So at the heart of it, it's a delay with a filter into the feedback loop. So I'm gonna put it 100% blend.
Is it almost doing the Carpler Strong thing, or is it something different to that?
Well, right, it's just a very, very quick delay.
Right.
But it's three different taps, and they're not synchronized. They're just randomly born. But this where it gets interesting to me is it's down there.
Interesting. So is that just a regular low-pass filter in there, or is it doing something a bit
Well, right
different?
now, the noise that you were hearing is just the clock. Most of the clocks usually are filtered out. As the slower you get the delay, the darker it gets, because they get rid of the clock, right? But there the clock is... You can hear the clock. You don't even hear the original oscillator anymore.
And can you CV the filter so that it becomes?
Yes. So the filter is actually
right.
You could CV it as an input, but also it's connected to a built-in envelope, looping envelope right here. So you can.
Wow, that gets somewhere pretty quickly. That's really...
I mean, that's just the oscillator, right?
I guess when you're getting into the situation where you're tuning the oscillator against maybe the loop of the filter delay, then you start to build up this kind of almost chordal stuff, right?
So that's the original, see, that's a problem. I usually just go on my own tangent. I'm like, where am I? And I forget that we're actually doing a demo. But this is the original wave with just one note, right? There's no tone modulation, no wave shaping. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And then if you add a little bit of modulation, like you could be using the same modulation that you're using, so the looping envelope, but on the timing of the delay. We'll go slower.
Okay. So is that just a regular like bucket brigade delay, or is it something a bit different?
It's a karaoke machine delay.
Oh, cool.
Basically, the idea behind the usage and the exploitation of the delay is just like in a lot of the machines and a lot of the tools that I've used, the thing that I tend to gravitate towards is the limitations or the nuances of the defects of the machine that to me make them human, more human. I've never been the kind of composer or musician that has a vision in his head and needs the tools that allow them to manifest those visions. To me, it's always been, let's sit in front of an instrument. Oh, an instrument made a move that I wasn't too conscious about or I didn't expect. And that led me in another direction. So when it comes to the Strega, the delay itself, we basically try to exploit those peculiarities and those characteristics of the delay that most of the time, design-wise, they get obfuscated or filtered out because they're considered, rightly so, aspects that are not pleasant when you listen to them, like the noise but used in a certain way, I feel that they add to the sound, kind of like in the same way that, the things that I like about cassette tapes is the noise floor, or the tape wobble to a certain extent, but,
So where did did this come from something that you kind of made from a larger system and kind of gone, well, I really like this signal path, this is something I'm starting to touch on, or was it a kind of concept that just came out of nowhere?
It just came. I think Tony was just able to box up an aesthetic that it's just been very dear to me, and turning into something with knobs that allows me to reach it and achieve it in a very short amount of time. Like the idea of having something as simple as a like a droney bass, or a droney lower note, like something like. Let me animate that a little bit.
Really interesting little corners and kind of harmonics and fizzes that come out of that, aren't there? So will that delay kind of hold indefinitely, or is it? Will it actually?
We should just not talk and listen to this forever.
Okay, all right. Well, what do the pads do? What do the kind of the touch points do?
Okay, I'll show you a little improv on the pads. Let me unplug all the modulation so we're a little clear on what I'm doing. It's a fairly fast delay.
so they're touch-sensitive patch points that would ordinarily require a jack. You're just doing it via the electrical conduction of your skin, right?
Exactly. Like, see, this is on the filter. You can do it on the pitch. Sorry. Hold on. I can do it. You can sound them. So you can have more sources to a destination. And they're not designed to be, like the way that I see it, that I use it, it's not like I put my finger down and hold it. It's more like I have something going like this.
Interact with it kind of rhythmically or however the mood takes you.
And that, I mean, that's, I always go back to the original sound just to give an idea of what the Strega does, you know. It's everything underwater, 30 years.
Chainsaw. So how does it play nice with the outside world, or is it very much its own thing? I mean, what's the kind of
Well, the other thing that I wanted to be able to achieve, and that we talked with Tony, is obviously it was a priority to have a standalone thing that allowed you to be creative without connecting to anything else. And you know, you could spend hours with headphones just with this and come up, as you can see, with things that keep you entertained, usable from a production point of view, or just as a, you know, as a way to save money on therapy and just use it as a personal, sonic therapist, you know. But obviously that's, you know, in order to create a product, you have to find a certain amount of appeal, on the different aspects. And so another priority that I felt we needed to achieve was for it to be able to apply its process, its underwater treatment to external sources. So there's an input, and where you can also run an external signal to. And right now I'm gonna plug in something into my phone, and I have some of the notes that I keep in my voice recorder. Like sometimes I record ideas with guitar or whatnot, and I'll plug it in so you can get an idea of when you run stuff. So let me deactivate the oscillator. And then up here, you'll see there's an input right here. There's strength, which is basically the gain, and you can also overdrive the input. But let's see if we can get a little guitar melody. It's a pretty clean guitar, right?
Sounds just like an acoustic recording of an electric guitar, right?
It's an electric guitar with the phone attached to it, and actually it was used in a track off my Volume Massimo record that came out 2 years ago. I don't know, 15 years now. I don't even know with the pandemic, and basically it then I repitched it for the record, and then the idea was to be able to run stuff through it and give it that sort of emotional sonic content. Sorry. I always have to destroy everything.
Interesting. So that will take any level. So it'll take module level. I mean, that's presumably a headphone level out of your phone.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah. This is headphone level right now. Obviously, with the strength, you can, you can also overdrive it. So now it's kind of a little dirty. Not as dirty as it gets in, when it comes out of this, but.
So is this is mono, presumably? We're talking about a mono output total, right?
Yes, sorry. It's mono. Yeah, it's mono. I'd rather have a mono instrument that then I can treat with what I want later as opposed to having that built in this case, simply because the balance between the sounds that it can achieve and the way that you achieve them right now, in my opinion and Tony's opinion, I hope it's perfect. I think that it has everything it needs, not too much, not too little, in order to achieve what we felt was a sonic aesthetic that wasn't available. And to be honest, it's not even we realized it wasn't available when we were done. The goal was to come up with something we were happy with to begin with. In fact, there's still doubts that people will want it. It's more like, what if this is the first and last collaboration piece that we do? Because we work so well together that we hope this is the beginning of a relationship. But I think the market will dictate that excitement, or that if they'll make a up or down. It's up to you guys. Yeah,
absolutely. So we've tried to coordinate this with the kind of time that it's been announced. So I guess it's going to be available, in all good shops soon. I mean, is it? Because I know that the pandemic has kind of affected manufacturing stuff. Is it on the way out to stores at the moment? Do you know?
Yeah, I think a certain amount of units will be out in the first week to stores in the first or second week of February. So I would think by the end of the month they should be available. But definitely Make Noise has a better idea of when it'll be actually out. We're very, very excited to finally being able to, to release the Strega out in the wild and to see what people think and to hear what people come up with. That's probably the thing that I'm most excited about, because I know how I feel about it and how I use it, but I can't wait to see how people react to it.
This is interesting. So how does it relate to, I mean, for instance, you create a piece of music or a body of work and you release that, and there's a certain feeling and process that goes with. How does releasing a piece of hardware feel by comparison? Is it more nerve-wracking, or is it because or is it just the same?
It's all very
sort of
new. I don't know yet. I wish. It's a very, very good question. I don't know how I mean, obviously right now I just feel very excited simply because it's a larger scale of what I did with Scott with the Suono E instrument, because it was linked to a record to begin with. This is just an instrument. So this is like Tony and I made a record, and that record happens to be the Strega. So it's the way that I can describe it is simply because it's the same sort of creative relationship, the same creative dialogue that I have with someone that I work with musically is what I had with Tony. It was magic to come up with the instrument that way.
Excellent.
Granted, when you release a record, you're not having other people's music built on your own record, or at least not directly. You know what I mean? So I'm really, really curious to see how people will use it. So I think overall it can't be bad. I mean, I'm not frustrated or stressed about it. I'm just, excited to see where it goes and how people digest it,
Excellent. Well,
it's not for everybody. I mean, I can tell you, the thing that we knew from day one when we started working on it is it was not going to be an instrument that would try to please everyone, whether it be feature full or feature rich, in order to sort of like fill in all the blanks and in order to be the thing that everybody needed to have. It provides a specific aesthetic, and definitely isn't the clean aesthetic. I don't think there's anything that does it the way that the Strega does, and both from a end result point of view and process as well. I think it's an instrument that when you sit in front of it, shows yourself another side of yourself in a way that I haven't tried before. So I'm really excited to see how people will react to it,
But that's great. Thank you so much for showing this. I wish you all the best of luck with it. And I guess people can find out more about it at makenoise.com, Make Noise Music, all of the usual places. Lovely to talk to you.
Thank you so much.